Morning, this is the Clarke Springs Trail in the Prescott National Forest. It's a really pretty vista behind me here, but I bet you that's all washed out in the video. Anyway, I'm going to break here to talk some anime. Iria, also titled Zayram the Animation, is a sci-fi action OVA from 1994. It's an animated prequel to Keita Amaniya's live-action Zayram movie, a sci-fi movie about a pretty alien woman, Iria, who comes to Earth to kill a monster, the Zayram. Amaniya's created the story for this prequel anime about the same woman, Iria, but set back when she was just a rookie. It's released in North America by Media Blasters. The story was developed about the same time Amaniya was working on the sequel live-action movie, Zayram 2. Iria is an old-school sci-fi action anime, a 6-part OVA of the Girls with Guns school. The title character, Iria, is a pretty young woman just starting out as a bounty hunter. She's armed with big guns, grenades, knives, a shootable grappling hook that lets her swing around like Spider-Man, and a plethora of other weapons. And she looks very cool in that big cape, and she sports some sexy body armor underneath. Iria's training under the apprenticeship of her big brother, Glenn, who's a veteran bounty hunter himself. They both work for a big dude named Bob. Bob, by the way, also shows up in the live-action movie, but in a different way. Rounding out the initial anime cast is Fujikuro, another bounty hunter who also works for Bob. He has an often violent but mostly respectful relationship with Glenn and Iria, friendly competitors competing for bounties. When Bob joins Glenn for an assignment to rescue some hostages from a hijacked spaceship, the job turns out to be a lot more complicated than they expected. Someone's even trying to stop them from getting to the teleport station to reach the ship. Iria follows along to help, and Fujikuro wants in on the big reward. It turns out that cargo they're supposed to salvage is the Zayram, a destructive and unkillable space monster. It's an odd-looking monster, like a big poncho-wearing man in a really big sombrero, except it's capable of spreading out, extending tentacles, and its head will extend on a really long, flexible neck. It looks pretty much like it did in the live-action movie, if you've seen that. It broke loose on the spaceship and went on a rampage of slaughter. That's what space monsters do. This has some echoes from Alien in this regard. Each of the 6 OVAs in the series were originally released separately, so each has its own, mostly complete story within the overall framework of fighting this Zayram. As a result of the first battle in the first OVA, Iria gets dropped on a different planet where she meets some of the local street urchins. They see her as a soft touch for food. One of those, Kay, will turn up again several episodes later as well. As I said, Iria is old-school Girls with Guns anime. It's heavy on the action, light on the emotions, and doesn't demand a whole lot of brain power. It takes itself semi-seriously. It only has a few comic moments in the entire 3 hours and just a few of the obligatory fan service moments. The story of Iria is the story of her recurring battle with the Zayram and those responsible for bringing it to her planet, and it'll conclude nicely after the 6 parts. Iria is a seriously unflappable hunter with courage, smarts, skills, beauty, and determination, plus a seemingly endless supply of guns and grenades. Despite the length of the series and the fact that it's a prequel, it really doesn't explore her personality much beyond those basics. The introduction of the young Kay provides Iria with a mirror to reflect upon, reminding Iria of herself when she was young and her brother was just teaching her the basics of bounty hunting. Iria is perfectly likable, if a bit cliched. Iria's supporting characters, the 3 older bounty hunter men, the one child, Kay, don't get a whole lot of development on their own. Iria seriously needs to take some time off and get herself a boyfriend. The artwork is crisp and mostly futuristic and imaginative. While the original Zayram took place on Earth, the animation takes place on distant spacefaring worlds. The artists have created an alien sci-fi setting with exotic building architectures, strange flying machines, force fields that can deflect bullets, keep the rain off, or just let you take your open-air convertible flying out into space. There are teleport stations between worlds, robots, and a variety of nice little touches in the background as well. However, they did resort to some predictable terrestrial ideas in places like the slums of Episode 2, or most of the interior of Iria's home and offices. The animation is more fluid than many of the OVAs of the early 90s, reflecting the series' emphasis on action. The background music is serviceable but undistinguished. You won't be humming anything. I have 2 reasons to recommend you watch Iria with the original Japanese soundtrack. First, the Anime Works English dub is awful. Compare this.
They brought a real monster on board. What would you do?
I'd nuke the ship.
The other reason for watching Iria in Japanese is that the English soundtrack on Media Blaster's DVD is simple stereo, whereas the Japanese soundtrack is a much richer 5.1 surround sound. I confessed before I'm not an audiophile, so if I can notice the difference, it's pretty obvious. Overall, I give Iria, Jii-san the animation 3.5 stars. If you're a fan of light action sci-fi, it's a fun watch with some popcorn. Media Blasters have published Iria as 2 separate DVDs of 3 episodes each, and more recently as a 3-DVD collection. A 3rd DVD of the collection, by the way, offers some extras, such as an interview with Jii-san's character, Keita Hamaniya, and the character designer and a couple of the Japanese voice actresses. Thanks for listening.